Hey, welcome to Love Them Normans, your newest obsession. I'm Kendi Norman. I'm sitting here with
the Norman,
my king, and we're about to get started with episode 2. In episode 2, we'll be talking about past traumas and how they show up in your marriage, drama, and building a strong foundation for your relationship. Now, before we get started, I want to give you a little disclaimer. Please note that Love Them Normans, the relationship podcast, may contain mature content, including profanity and sexual language. We're also plant friendly. This podcast is intended for adults only and may not be suitable for children. Listener discretion is advised. Let's get it popping.
So be advised.
Let's get it popping. How are you today, Mr. Norman?
I'm doing great, Mrs. Norman. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for asking. So today we're talking about past trauma and how they can show up in your marriage. Now that's something to talk about, isn't it?
Of course.
I mean, because we don't mean like stuff we went through together. It's pretty much baggage that you come into a relationship with and that the other person has to deal with. Well, they don't have to deal with, but the other person may choose to deal with and help you along while you work through it. So, Mr. Norman, what are some past traumas that you may have experienced? I'm going to let you go first because I know I got a long, dirty laundry list. I'm going to let you go first. What are some traumas, or what may be a trauma, or what's an experience that may have caused traumas that you think may have showed up, whether before or, rarely, frequently, or have shown up and affected your marriage or me or you in a certain way?
Well, one of my traumas would be the fact that me and my dad had a real close relationship, but he never told me he was sick. And I didn't know that he was really, really sick until he died. Right. So that just, anybody else could have lied to me, it didn't matter. And not that he didn't lie that he lied to me, the fact that he didn't tell me made it feel like a lie. Like, because you knew, or I felt like everybody else knew but me. So it kind of destroyed me a little bit on trust, like, if my dad could do that to me, then anybody in the world could do it. And then another big one is my first marriage, trying to be married, trying to be right, and you catch a person in all kind of lies. I'm talking about physically, with your eyes, and that just did it for me. That's why I always said I was never getting married again, because I tried it didn't work, and hey, I'm moving on to something else.
So, what I hear you saying is the trauma from your dad passing away and you not knowing he was sick. So it was sudden and abrupt to you.
Yes.
I remember that experience.
Very much so.
Very vividly.
Now, mind you, I knew he was a little sick, but put it like this. I knew he was sick, but I didn't know the severity of what was actually going on, which I found out after he passed. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay, so the trauma from that, and then what I hear you saying is there were some issues in your first marriage that you experienced, that you saw, and it affected this marriage. I'm sorry, the current marriage, as far as trust issues. Both of those traumas affected you as far as trust.
Yes.
Therefore, they affected your next relationship, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So how do you think that shows up or has shown up in our relationship?
Well, in the very beginning. That's why I was so reluctant to really settle down and do that, because I've been through that and it didn't work. And in my head, it's going to be the same shit again. Not knowing that God has something totally different for me. I just had to be willing to empty my hands, accept it, and run with it. And that's what I did.
From your point of view, even though you felt like you knew that you wouldn't trust again, or you knew that you wouldn't get married, was that still hard for you? Like coming to grips with that, like dealing with what you thought was that fact?
No, I actually felt silly. Tell you the truth, I felt silly in the end, because what did I do? I ended up getting married again, and it was totally different.
Right. But what I'm asking is, like if I'm you, and I say, well, I'm not getting married again, to the world or to your spouse, it looks like it's hard on the other person, on your partner. But it had to be hard on you too.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Very much so. Because I kept being scared. I mean, no matter what I did, how good you was to me, no matter how bad I was to you, and how good you still were to me, it was scary because it was always lingering like, nah, she ain't gonna stand for that shit for too long. You know what I'm saying? So, and it was like being a kid pushing the limit till you learned your limit, and now you didn't learn your limit, found out it was worth it, and now you change your whole process about it.
One thing that stuck out that you said, no, she's not going to take this too long. One thing you didn't understand and didn't realize, you weren't hurting me. You was hurting yourself.
Right. I mean, I realize that now.
Because the thing about it was, I had my eyes and my heart set on something. After the first year with that infidelity, anything after that, as long as it wasn't violent or as long as it wasn't demeaning, degrading, or disrespectful, anything other than that was a cakewalk. You were very emotionally closed off.
Yeah.
You had walls up, like I'm talking about people listen. I'm talking about, you think Jackson Prison got walls in Michigan? Baby, they walls is wet white bread compared to the walls he had up. And it was difficult. I'm not going to lie. It was a difficult part. I'm not saying it like, oh, he was just hurting himself, like it wasn't hard. It was very difficult.
Yeah, it was.
It was very difficult. I spent a lot of nights inside my head crying. I spent a lot of times trying to figure him out. But at the same time, I felt bad for him. Because even if I left the relationship, even if it didn't work out, I still had the opportunity to do whatever I was going to do because I was young and I had that outlook. I had that perspective. So for me, it was all about getting you to see who you really was. Like who you are. Like, you think okay, like, yeah, I'm this, but I'm like, no, you that. Like, you take the sheet off of a piece of art and it'd be like, woof. and the people be like, oh, and they do that shit. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was trying to show you. And you had confidence, but it was like hood confidence, like what people had, like, oh, I'm tough, I'm smart, I'm got common sense, like I could take care of shit. You know what I'm saying? You had the man aspect down pat, but the emotional aspect was like, barely there. Are you there? Hello. So, I fought through that and I got through that, but I'm just a tough, strong motherfucker because I wanted what I wanted, and that's a strong will. I was able to see that. Now, not to say if you didn't get it, you know what I'm saying, that you wasn't going to be left, because we all know how good I am at disconnecting from people. but it was just something that I knew you would get in the spirit, like we were destined.
Yeah, for sure. I believe that.
I believe that. So any more issues, traumas, or anything you want to talk about, or you want to go ahead and you want me to take my turn?
No, you can take your turn.
All right. So
yeah.
I feel like past traumas that showed up in our relationship for me, like it's like millions. It's like, no, I'm just playing. But we all know that as Black women, we go through a lot. The Black man goes through a hell of a lot. But it's usually like mental and physical, but emotionally, we go through so much. So I think my trauma showed up from having a single mom, and my mom was one of the best moms, but at the same time, one of the most critical and strict moms that you could ever have. You know what I'm saying? I just felt like she was overly strict. And I just, being an adult now, I know that it's things that probably she saw or that happened or she knew of that she didn't want to happen to us, me, Tina, and Christian. But I feel like in a way it hindered us because we found out about a lot of shit so late, and then not only that, by her being single, she had a lot of pressure on her. So when I got whoopings, I got whoopings, I got my ass beat. And I know everybody oh, we all got our ass beat.
Yes,
purple.
We did, Jeanette Norman. Shout out to my mama.
But it was other underlying things going on there. Then my dad was not like present. He wasn't active. My dad lived most of the time on Concord. My granny lived on Cary. But like I would go on Concord and be with the rest of my family. That's how we got so close. Like my aunties, my uncles, all their kids, like they would be like, I'm supposed to be visiting him, but I'm visiting them. And that's how we all end up so close as kids because we were always around one another. And then besides that, like, by me and my mama not getting along, it was instances where shit had happened and I'd go live with grandma or she'd be like, get out. Like, I experienced rape at 13 years old. Basically, my granddad died I experienced rape, and then I went to Vista Maria. My mama was having issues with my behavior, but I went to Vista Maria. We had a conversation about it. Like, it wasn't lockup or nothing like that. It was almost like a college dorm. And I went there in agreement because my grades were good, but when we used to get citizenship.
Behavior.
My behavior was like, and it wasn't like fights or nothing like that. Like, I had a mouth. You know what I'm saying? And I was angry. She didn't know what was wrong with me. She didn't know what had occurred because she was so like, I didn't feel like I could talk to her. She was already critical. I mentioned that. You feel what I'm saying? So I felt like, shit, I keep it under wraps. And not only that, you 13 years old. That was my first sexual experience. So it's like, I'm trying to figure it out. So I ended up going to Sarah Fisher or whatever. Vista Maria or whatever. And, my granddaddy died. And that right there, combined with all the rest of that shit, like that right there, like, who say that shit? This shit right here, nigga, this shit right here. Cat Williams, that shit right there, that shit crushed my soul. So that was trauma on top of that. I don't have nobody to tell. My hero is gone. Like, this person who did everything for me, who cared for me, who helped my mama with me, who was like my daddy, was out of there. Like, gone. A heart attack. Surprise. Poop house surprise. So it fucked me up mentally. After that, like, by having a strain on my relationship with my mother, my grandmother was always there. Rosetta was always there, but shit, I didn't talk to grandma a lot at that point in time because she had lost her husband. So I ended up in a relationship and experiencing my first bout with domestic violence. I ended up with a whole asshole. Like I said in the first episode, though, who shall remain nameless and faceless. But I ended up with a whole asshole, and we just gonna go through it really quick in 2 minutes because we not spending a lot of time or energy on this. But I have to give y'all an idea where the trauma comes from. So basically, I was 17. I was 17 years old, and I met a guy who said he was 27. I know y'all like, God damn, Kendi, you just stay. Hey, listen, boys my age, all y'all know, the ones that try to talk to me, like, they weren't articulate, they weren't smart, they didn't have jobs, they didn't have money back then and things like that. We couldn't hold a conversation. They want to talk about small talk, sex, high school shit. That was not my field. That was not my thing. So I liked older guys, but this man said he was 27, y'all. I found out later he was 37 years old. Yeah, you heard that shit right. Rewind it if you missed it. So the whole thing about it was I ended up in a relationship that lasted totally a year. 1 year. 6 months was good, I would say, from what I knew at that point in time, to hell. And when I say hell, I mean to the point where, at one point in time, I had 2 black eyes at one time. I had my 2 front teeth knocked out at one time. I got dragged down some stairs by my hair at one time. Like, it was crazy. And I was this much younger than this person. And I had no idea at that time. But he was literally using me for a punching bag. Being gone 8 to 12 hours a day. And bringing home Viennas and noodles and shit for dinner. And my mind had to be fucked up. And it had to be like some Hannibal Lecter type, Silence of the Lambs, Buffalo Bill type shit. Because why in the world would I allow some shit like that to happen? But you got to understand, all the trauma before that, added on top of that trauma. And shit, at that point in time, I was dealing with abandonment issues. And I just wanted to be cared for, or what I assumed was being cared for and loved. I just wanted to experience some sense of that on my own without having to be with my mama because we were strained, without having to face my granny because granddaddy was dead. So all that shit ended up in a snowball, y'all. And it's a book coming out about that later on. It's a book. And Oprah gonna call me. And Gail. And Yanla. So let's fast forward. So after that relationship, that's why in the first episode when I met D, I said, if you remember him quoting, I ain't trying to hear what you're saying. I don't want no man. I don't want nothing.
I'm good. You can keep going.
Because I had been away. That was the person I was with when I saw D for the first time. And I had got away from him with my life. Barely. So at that point in time, I was trying to figure me out. And that's why he told you I was on my way to the dentist.
Yeah, I remember now. You're right. I was taking you to your mama to go to the dentist.
Oh, he finally got it, y'all. He finally got it. Oh, no, you got it.
Yeah,
so,
I remember.
How all those traumas show up in my marriage, well, in my relationship, because that's what it was back then. We weren't married yet. But how it showed up for me was it gave me trust issues. I had emotional intimacy problems. I had communication difficulties to whereas everything was confrontational. After getting out of a relationship where you constantly being hit and fighting all the time, anything somebody say is an issue. It makes you defensive. It turns you up. It makes you like, what? Like, get them before they get you. It makes you ill in all facets of the word. You feel what I'm saying? So that's where I was. It gave me fear of betrayal. Just like he said, he has trust issues and he don't do trust. It gave me fear of betrayal. But it wasn't a betrayal of where I was worried about women. Are you going to try to put your hands on me? Because I'm going to slit your fucking throat. Like, that's what it was. That's where my thought process was at 19 years old when I met my now husband. Yeah. A moment of silence and a small chronic break for that shit because I'm still here. And I'm a cold motherfucker while I'm at it. I do a lot of shit. I'm the female Batman. And the reason why I talk my shit, y'all, is because I almost lost my life more than once. And that's what it is. But it's not to get claps or kudos or tears or none of that shit. It's to let whoever's listening to this, who's at the end of their rope, who don't know what the fuck they're gonna do, who's in a fucked up relationship or experiencing a fucked up time, or the person they love the most died, or they not getting along with their mother or their father, or their father was absent. All you motherfuckers out there that's listening that have experienced anything like that, you gotta know that it's another side.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You agree with that, Mr. Norman? It's another side? Yes, tell them about the other side.
It's a great side too. But you gotta be willing to go over there. You can't wait for somebody to grab your damn hand and pull you over there. You gotta be looking for it. And while you looking for it, you will see it. And when you see it, you gotta go to it. You can't wait for it to come to you because your ass will be waiting.
Well, what he did was, he was a great help to me because, y'all, when I first got with my husband, I had night terrors. Not only was I with an abusive individual, my brother-in-law, who would have been my brother-in-law if he would have lived, rest in peace, Samuel Ford, he was killed across from Osborne, and it was just too much. Like, it was a lot. It was a whole bunch. He was killed when Davion was under 1 year old. But it was just so much. And I used to have night terrors to where I used to sleep. When I used to sleep, I used to fight, like, violently in my sleep because of all the traumas and the physical attacks I had experienced. Shit, I hadn't talked to nobody. I hadn't went and got nothing, no help, sought no help for it. So, shit, I was fucked up, and he helped me through it. He used to sit up. He used to hold me at night. He used to wake me up calmly, like, and just sit up with me and talk to me and shit, whatever he had to do to make sure I was straight. And he would sit up until I was asleep and make sure I could sleep. And then maybe he would sleep. And some mornings I wake up and he ain't been asleep. So.
Shit, that's how much I love you.
I love you too.
That's how much I love you.
I love you too. So, we talked about how all these traumas can show up, but how can it impact your ability to maintain a healthy relationship? Like, how do you fight them triggers and fight those behaviors from coming back in your relationship? Like, how do you trust me? You know what I'm saying? Even though you've experienced these things, we still been together, what, over 20 years, 22 years. So a person, 22 years, it'd be 23 in December. So a person might be like, oh, well, she might be tired of me. Or she might be seeking something else elsewhere. Like, how do you maintain our relationship in a healthy way?
Well, I mean, it's always possible that somebody could think that, but even if you think that, at some point you got to be real with yourself.
Meaning
that you got to look at yourself. You got to ask yourself first, do you really believe that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can believe a lot of shit in the heat of the moment.
Or Willie D. Your mind playing tricks on you.
For 5 or 10 minutes. But after all that shit, after all the emotional shit, and you settle down and you come to your senses, do you really believe it? And that's up to the individual. Ain't no book on that. Ain't nobody can teach you for that shit or nothing. It's the individual. And it starts with common sense. Some things just make sense. Some things don't.
Right.
The individual has to make the decision. I can't tell you. Because if I tell you, I'm giving you my opinion or decision or perspective. That's not what you need. Mm-hmm. The only way to work through anything is with your own perspective. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you take bits and pieces of everything, put the shit together, what makes sense? In your reality, in your life, what makes sense? Because what makes sense for me, man, A, might make totally dissonance to man B. And it could be that it really don't work for him, or it's just that's the way that he see it. But it's up to the individual.
Something my grandma too used to say. Basically, just the facts, please. Right. You could be right. you will fall and skin your knee. You'll be screaming, crying out your motherfucking head. She be like, excuse me. Calm as fuck. Just the facts, please. In other words, you ain't gotta tell me the bumblebee was chasing you. You got scared. You fell. You rolled. You tumbled. You scraped your knee. Just say, I scraped my knee. But that's what it reminds me of when you talk about perspective. Like, it's easy as 1, 2, 3, depending on who you are.
Yeah, for sure.
So how did you move on though? How did you not continue to struggle with anger, resentment, or sadness, or whatever that was preventing you at first from embracing our relationship totally? Like, what was the thing? What did you do when you was like, all right, I'm letting it all go. Fuck it. Or what was the thing, or when was that time, if that makes sense?
The thing is going to always be when you wake up one day and you ask yourself, am I really going to live like this for the rest of my life?
When did you ask yourself that?
Shit, after about a year of us being together. I ain't even asked myself that. I told myself that. I told you when I went to jail. It was over. That was it. I was done. Everything.
What decisions did you make?
I made a decision to get out the street. I made a decision to be better to you and my motherfucking son. Don't go to jail on y'all and take care of y'all. And I made a decision when I talked to Grandma Rose and I told her that I loved you and I was going to be with you.
Rest in peace, Rosetta Gladys Shivers.
And I meant that shit. And I lived up to it and still living up to it.
And you did, and you are.
And it feels great on this side.
To answer my first question.
It feels great on this
side. And do it feel good?
Shit.
It really feels good than a motherfucker.
If you go through life and don't experience what I experienced in the last 20 years, it's a wasted life.
It's really beautiful. It is.
It's a wasted
even
life.
Even the arguments are beautiful. Like, I've never cared enough or gave a fuck enough to put a little effort in having a disagreement, because we don't scream, we don't yell, we can talk loud, But it's no like viciousness. It's like more of we've been together so long, like go have a seat.
Yes.
With your bald-headed ass. That's my favorite line, ain't it, baby? With your
Yes.
bald-headed ass. Because that's love. You never want to really hurt somebody you love. You feel me? You never want to do that. You never really want to hurt anybody.
But it's crazy because there's somebody out here telling somebody they love them, but they don't really feel the way that me and you feel for each other.
Because they think that's
And
their
that
definition
shit is
of it.
hard.
That's the definition of it. Or they lying. Like mama used to tell you. Well, mama used to tell you. Jeanette Norman. About telling people you love them. These little girls.
Yeah. My mama always told me that. Don't be out here telling these girls you love them. You can tell them you like them, they cute or whatever, but don't be telling none of these girls you love them, because it's a lot that come with that shit. And then you learn about the busted car windows and the slashed tires and the sugar in the tank, and sometimes a motherfucker get killed.
But let's tell the truth though. I never heard none of your objects, really. If I believe in this. You take it to the individual that you're mad at. That's always been me. you take it. I'm not mad at your car. I'm not mad at your gas tank. I'm not mad at your tires. They didn't do nothing to me. So that's always been the thing for me. Like, why show out and you clown and you slash this man's tires, and then tomorrow y'all ain't gonna have shit to ride in because you ain't going no fucking where. If he ain't did nothing to you physically, you not going anywhere. Fuck out of here. So we talked about that, and I want to touch on how I moved on from my traumas. Basically, it was realizing, one, the main thing I had to realize is, like, granddaddy gone. Like, I used to hold you to that standard because you have so many ways. You have so many ways from being dark chocolate to having wavy hair like my papa, like, to smelling naturally like a fucking chocolate bar, like all those things, like being a manly man, like always grabbing the bags, always getting the door, always. Those are all things I saw granddaddy do. Mm-hmm. All those things. He was the man all the time. Like he was. It was no BAN back then. Bitch ass nigga. For y'all who don't know, it was none of that existed back then. It didn't seem like it. So by you being such a man and by y'all both being Sagittarians, same sign as my granddaddy, I used to hold you to certain standards. And you used to be like, Kendi, like, I'm Derek. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that's not fair, but that's a trauma. Yeah. That's longing for something, wanting him, longing for him. And he took care of me, and you took care of me so similar. And you spent so much time with me and Grandma Rose, just like he did. Not as much time as him, but you spent a lot of time with me and Grandma. Yeah. So, you know, that was something I had to get past. That was something I had to put in my head and make myself know he's his own man. Yeah. Hold him to his own standard. Measure him by his own stature. And once I learned to do that, shit got easier for me. And I know it got easier for you. Yeah. Probably. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But in all those things, it's a learning experience. All of it. You always supported me when I was experiencing those things. I had to support you through those things and had to be patient while you were developing and deciding what decisions and who you were going to be, ultimately.
Yeah.
Who you were going to be.
You helped me make that decision, though. You definitely helped me make that decision. One shit out here like you at that time. I want to know what you're doing, what you was doing for me, so fuck that.
You don't want to talk about that, though, do you?
I'm just saying, in the hole.
And I'll talk about, oh, okay. I thought you
said.
Okay, that's episode 6, everybody. That's episode 6.
No, I'm talking about in the hole,
yeah.
Nobody doing that shit. Fuck 'em.
And what was I doing? Like, specifically, because you know they don't know, our audience.
Everything that I needed and wanted at that time, you was doing it.
What about
me raise my kids, my house, the whole nine. Shit.
Well, like Drake say, how about now?
Yeah, same shit. Doing what you're supposed to be doing. Shit.
We just doing it on a larger scale.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
With more love.
Shit turned out beautiful.
It did. It did. So let's talk about some of the things that build a strong foundation. in a relationship, or the things that helped us to build a strong foundation in our relationship. And top of the list, matter of fact, I want to skip around in the list because we talked about trust, right? A little bit. So good communication, and good communication is the foundation of any strong relationship. So we got to make sure we take the time to talk to each other, share our feelings, listen to our partner, do that thing. So we know, Mr. Norman, that communication is my number one.
Yes.
My thing. That's my thing. I'm like, we're not communicating properly.
I'm getting it.
We're not communicating.
I'm getting it.
You're not communicating. Articulate. Tell me how you feel. It's like living with Richard Simmons, ain't it?
Yes.
Because, listen, one thing, like the stigma in our community, the African American community, Black community, people of color, indigenous people, however you describe it. One thing is y'all don't get to express yourselves. Y'all, meaning Black men. Y'all don't get to express yourselves. Nobody's interested. They want you to pay the bills. They want you to provide. They want you to take care of shit, secure them, like protect the family, like play ball with your sons. But nobody want to be like, hey, how are you doing?
No, you always did that, though. You always did that shit from day one.
Because it's important.
Yeah, you always did it.
And by treating people a certain way, you teach them how to treat you.
Yeah.
In turn. Because that's all it did. It make you know, okay, she doing this to me. Okay, well, I should probably do this too. Mm-hmm. I should do this back.
Mm-hmm. Can't be scared to learn, though. Can't come into everything thinking you know every damn thing, because you don't. You gotta remember it was a whole world here before your ass. Ain't none of this shit new. Mm-hmm. Somebody somewhere done the same shit somewhere. They probably just done it a little different. But ain't none of this shit new. It's up to the individual.
And it wasn't a thing for you with me being younger than you, like to learn from me?
Yes, in the beginning.
Come on, tell us more about that.
Fuck it. Look at you.
I mean, we got it because we got to tell them. They don't know. We know. What was your thing? It
was hard for me to be like, how the hell she know what the hell she talking about? And I've been here doing this shit for years. She just started. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of shit you was right about. Do you believe
that we come back again? How people see a baby and they say, oh, they've been here before. Do you believe that for a person to be so young, like you said, and be so well versed? Because I was 19. I didn't have no whole bunch of boyfriends. Like, I didn't have a lot of experiences with relationships. It wasn't no bunch of long-term relationship. I wasn't old enough. So it was mainly from watching my grandparents. I learned what to do. From my mother and father's relationship, I really learned what not to do. And basically, the Cosbys, a different world, and good times. Seriously, let's talk about those dynamics. Because the Cosby Show was, remember, that was when we got together, we ain't gonna be no damn Cosby. Yeah. That's not real. And you had never even seen me watch that show, but you was like, we ain't the fucking Cosby. You was some ghetto. Yeah. You turned into a true king. You have evolved. Kudos, husband.
That shit wasn't real. I mean,
that's what you used to say. It ain't real.
But then, shit.
And what I say 5 years later, where them Cosbys at?
Yeah.
Where them Cosbys at?
People start telling us that stupid shit.
Yes.
Like, huh?
Yes.
Oh, y'all think y'all the Cosby? Fuck no, nigga. We think we did. Kendi.
And it evolved all the way into Power Couple. And it's not something that we dubbed ourselves. It's just something that we lived. We get that compliment, and I consider it a compliment. Thank you. But we get that compliment from others. We didn't dub ourselves that. All we doing is living and loving.
But they thought it was for fake.
Oh, a lot. Oh, y'all. Oh, my God. A studio audience.
They thought it was fake.
Oh, my God. It was so much. And this is part of building your strong foundation.
Ain't no fucking way y'all like that for real.
Part of building your strong foundation is being able to ignore the noise. Being able to ignore the noise. Because had we listened to what was being said about he and she to each other, it never would have went nowhere. It wouldn't be, this podcast wouldn't be here. it wouldn't be here. So we learn to be above the noise, to fly above the pigeons in our flock with the eagles, and to focus on one another.
Put it like this. This is how you stand in line for them Jordans because you love them so much. Put that same effort into your girl and trust me.
Oh, they ain't gonna do that. You talking about them shoes that's made out of plastic cup?
Oh, them fake ass shoes.
Oh, they not gonna do that.
How you stand in line for some damn good shoes, but you won't give your partner what they need to be
because
better.
People always say they want it. Like everywhere, whether we used to be at work, whether we be at the park, whether we be at a concert, whether we be at a club, whether we be at a family member's house, a barbecue, it don't matter. It's always somebody we know that tells us how much they want that for themselves. Like, oh, me and my girl, we've been together this long. Oh, me and my... And at first, it was optimistic and it sounded good. But shit, after we've been together 20 years, me and Dee be looking like, okay. We just listen, shit, until we get tired of listening and go do something else. Because it's not an arrogance thing. It don't have shit to do with us. It's that, like my husband said, most people are not willing to do the work. Most people don't want to respect somebody. Most people don't even respect themselves. Let's be real. Most people don't know how to love themselves. Most people have not looked in the mirror and done the work to be able to be honest with themselves enough. And to put the motherfucking conviction, look themselves eye to eye and be like, dog, would you want to be with you?
Some tough shit, though. I mean, just to close.
But we had to do it separately.
But we wanted to
at separate times and separately, not together. People think we hold hands and skip all motherfucking day long. He got shit he do. I got shit I do. That was individual battles and that allowed us to come together. Go ahead, King. I'm sorry.
But the first key to that is you gotta want it. Without wanting it, it's not gonna work.
But
because
what?
Every time you look in that mirror,
what's their example?
Every time you look in that mirror and you look in your eyes is telling you the truth, but your mouth is saying something.
Your eyes are telling you no.
Shit. So I mean, it's something the person gotta want. I mean, I guess you gotta go through enough.
But you gotta want it like that girl say, real bad.
Yeah.
You gotta want it.
What I want it real bad.
You want to be real bad.
Yeah,
I want to be real bad too. Real bad. Hey. Okay, focus.
Oh, and I forgot to tell y'all, just let me throw this in here too. This ain't got nothing to do with what we talking about, but let me throw this in here. When I was telling the story last week, I forgot to tell y'all when she kept turning me down, and then when I pulled up to the bus stop, she asked me why should
baby. Wait, if you ain't watched episode 1, you not gonna know what he's talking about. So go ahead and watch episode 1 and then come back and join us.
Yeah, but she kept telling me no. She didn't want to talk to nobody and all that. And then she asked me a question like, well, why you want to talk to me?
Yep.
And I was like, man, you too motherfucking fine to be sitting on the bus stop. And whoever your motherfucking man is a fool if he let you come out here and get on the goddamn bus.
And I didn't have no man.
She ain't caught a bus or a cab since.
Shit.
So, okay, back to the story though. I had to clear that up. I wanted to mention that, but go ahead.
You forgot to mention your story last week. Yeah. So who mess up when they tell the story? Me or you then?
Me,
okay. Okay. Me. Let's hear it for the girls. That's another one, y'all.
Me, man.
Here's another one.
Sometimes
okay.
I mess up. Shit,
players mess up.
I ain't no player, but
you cut me up real quick with that. I'm not a player. I'm the cuddler. Yeah. You the cuddler.
Yeah.
D. Norman, do not start. Man. Don't start. You're the cuddler. Cuddler. Yeah. Okay. All right, for real. We be climbing.
Yes.
For real, in real life. So, we talked about communication. He said he's working on that, y'all. But he's gotten so much better, let me tell you. From, like, the beginning, like, you'll be talking to him. Like, my husband, like I told y'all last episode, he liked the light stuff. So, the happy stuff, like, oh, we need to go to the grocery store. Oh, look at the kids. Oh, let's take the kids here. Oh, we want to go on a trip. Oh, let's go hang out. Oh, let's go to the library. Oh, like, shit like that. Look at the museum. Oh, okay. All that shit. As soon as you be like, let's talk about what happened last week between us or our communication. He used to look at the wall. And I used to be like, is he slow? Like, nobody in the family said, nobody. Tasha, Kim, Nobody said he was slow. Like, Grandma Washington would have told me. Why are you staring at the wall? Like, I had to get over that because I'm a Scorpio and I got anger issues. I act retarded like an Aries. So, I had to get over that because I used to I used to throw plates. I would break every dish in the house. Leave buy new dishes. Like, I don't even want to tell y'all. Because when y'all see me on the streets, y'all gonna be thinking about the old me. And that ain't me no more. That ain't me. I don't smoke. Shit. Y'all ain't nothing without motherfucking David Ruffin. Just remember that shit. I stand on that.
Hell no.
So, let's get back to how you build a strong foundation. Also, compromise.
Yeah, you gotta be willing to do the work.
Compromise. That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Stop fucking them hoes, Jesse. You had to. You
gotta actually compromise. You can't just compromise in your damn head. You gotta actually compromise.
Well, that's where it starts.
But it's a lot of simple shit. People act like the shit is so hard. Like when you get married, it's just gone. It's not. No, it's gonna be exactly what the fuck you make it.
Right.
You put the work in, you gonna get the reward out of it. You don't put the work in, you wasted your damn time.
Right. Like if you don't water your plants, they gonna die. That's common sense.
For sure.
That's common sense.
For sure. You gotta do the work. And shit, depending on who you with, the work can be easy and fun. Trust me.
It
That
can.
shit can be fun as hell.
It can be fun.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun. That's why, like, the little arguments in between, that shit didn't matter. When we was young, we used to argue. We used to have, when we was young, woo.
That's life.
Them arguments.
If we never argued, then that'd be the scary part. That'd have a motherfucker thinking this shit fake.
We'd be like the step. Well, I don't give a fuck what they think, but we like
I'm
the
talking
step.
about in our mind.
Oh.
Shit. We never argue.
You know, that's
Get the fuck out of here.
That's crazy.
Shit. Even the Pope argued.
That's crazy. And it used to be arguments back then. Now I just look at it like we disagree.
Yeah.
Because we older. We spend so much time together, loving one another, like joking with one another, going places, eating things, like having experiences with one another that it's really hard to like go at a person like that. Yeah. You'll rather just be quiet or just go say your piece and then just be like, okay, motherfucker, you go that way, I go this way. Because when you get to caring about somebody like that and to being around somebody all the time like that, it's like it's a part of you. Yeah. And that's where that respect, like Michael Jackson said, it's just another part of me. When he said that, that's where that respect come in at. You feel me? Because you be like, okay, you be mad as hell, but you be like, yo, man, because I know I think crazy shit. Like I said, I'm a Scorpio. I'm probably going to say that 10 times on every episode because I'm proud of that shit. I'm proud to be black. I'm proud to be a woman. I'm proud to be a Scorpio. And I'm proud to be from Detroit. Like, they're my main things you going to hear me say over and fucking over again. But, like, I get enraged, y'all. But not like regular people. Like, I would be staring at you with a straight face, but on the inside, like, I slit your throat and I took your head off. Like, and it's hypothetical. Like, not really in reality, but I had to learn to control that shit and keep it respectful at all times. When I was younger, I was different. When I was younger, I used to get pissed off so bad to whereas I don't care what come out of my mouth. I was just like butter. Like, just like my mama. Splitting image of my mama. Like, I say whatever comes to mind. Like Pac say, we can do whatever come to mind. I say anything. Anything about what, and it's always the truth. So it always hits hard. But I've learned over the years that tact and patience win. Every time.
A thinking man is a bad man.
That's true.
An emotional man is a fucking wreck.
Yeah.
He's a wreck.
That's true, but women are wired to be emotional. That's the whole thing about it.
So imagine a thinking woman.
Right.
That's wired.
That's me.
That's the scariest shit in the world.
That's what I did.
Shit.
I took 2 years to totally work on myself, and that helped like you worked on yourself. That helped contribute to our foundation. Yeah. That helps to make things easier for ourselves and one another. And that's one thing, like you said, that's a hard thing to do. Looking in that mirror and taking accountability, because people don't do it. They be scared of their own shadow.
A motherfucker see you, you can tell that story. They'll be like, "Shit, this nigga crazy or something." No, nigga, this real. Bro.
After
go in that mirror by yourself, close that bathroom door, stand in that mirror, look yourself in your eyes, and tell the truth.
After I got out of that relationship and my mother, we was at the knife precinct. I'll never forget this. My mother took me to file charges and to get a restraining order because like I was fucked up. But I hadn't seen myself at all. So I don't know why these cops reacted like this. Like one guy cop had tears in his eyes. This nigga damn near started crying. I'm like, what the fuck? What? I don't feel pain because it's recent, so I'm kind of numb to the shit. But I can't really see because my eyes are closed, like literally. And I'm in the police station, and I had to go to the bathroom for something. And I saw myself, dog. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, what the fuck? And that's, like you say, that hard moment. When you gotta look in the mirror, like I look like I've been in the, like I got paid $1 million to fight, like that. And they like, we gotta take pictures of you to document. And I'm like, what the fuck? I saw myself and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, Lord, this is crazy. What the fuck? So that was a hard moment. That was a moment I had to look at myself and be like, don't you ever in your fucking life let nobody do this. Like, you better be going to the penitentiary for murder if somebody do this to you ever again. Ever again. Because that's totally unacceptable. And it's mental weakness that allows you to ever think that will never happen to you, but be in a situation like that, be in a spider web the whole time, but think you ain't gonna get ate. That's crazy. That's ludicrous. Like Mike Tyson. That is ludicrous. I don't know what you're thinking. Why? That's what he was saying. What are you thinking, Kendi? But that was a pivotal moment in my life. That shit made me a beast because I was like, never, ever. Like the bitch don't get out. No. That's how I was. I'll never let her bitch little bow wow me. It'll never happen again. Never. So then it was beast mode. So that I carried that throughout life. It wasn't a thing just such as violence. It was things when I was going after promotions. If I was going on a job, that's the thing that made me leave Quicken Loans and become an entrepreneur and start my own business. That's the thing that helped me to start this podcast, write a workbook, write a book, be a mama every day, go to college, be your wife. That's what fuels me. Never letting a bitch little bow wow me. Write that down, audience. Write that down. Don't let nobody little bow wow you. I don't give a damn who it is.
You better not.
Like my granddaddy told Natalie when she was on the phone. When Malin, who was in the kitchen. Y'all, I gotta tell this story. This don't got nothing to do with nothing. Me and my cousin Natalie. My favorite cousin, Gail Shivers. She got a daughter named Natalie. That's my cousin, right? And we was sitting in my grandma and granddaddy kitchen, y'all. Y'all remember the wall phones? They used to have to use it with the hose in it. You go, shk, and it go all the way around. Rotary dial. And my grandma had a yellow one because she had just got her kitchen done. And Natalie was on the phone, right, with her boyfriend. His name was Malin, y'all.
Tell nobody that.
I don't know. We don't know where that nigga is. Anyway, this is 100 years ago. Anyway, so it was a storm outside. So we sitting in the breakfast nook. If y'all had money in the 80s, y'all had a breakfast in the 90s. Yeah, y'all lived on the east side of bed. Like, y'all grandma had a breakfast nook. If you ain't had a breakfast nook, I ain't talking to you. So I don't get mad. I'm only being real. So I'm in the breakfast nook. I'm watching the Pistons game and shit. So the storm started like getting rough. And I'm telling her, because we got the back windows off the backyard to overlook the swing set and the dollhouse that I had back there. And we had a garden and a rose bush and a raspberry bush and a barbecue. Anyway, I told her like, hey, My granddaddy about to make you get off the phone. Like, it's storming. I already know he don't play that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Dog, she like, I'm gonna wait till you pick up the phone. I wouldn't advise that, but okay. Man, granddaddy picked up the phone. He say, hey, Natalie, it's time for you to get off that phone. She say, but it's Malin. I heard granddaddy all the way. He was upstairs. I'm not even on the fucking phone. Like I say, I'm watching the Pistons game. He say, I don't give a fuck who it is. My next step, I'm looking at her like, bitch, if you don't hang up, I'm gonna hang up for you. Like, that man is not playing. I can hear the echo of his voice from upstairs, through the phone and from upstairs. I'm not playing with this man. But I had to share that with y'all. That was funny. That's my granddaddy. Rest in peace, Joseph Leon Shivers. So, yeah. So, with this, we've showed you all, we've talked about the traumas that contribute, some traumas that can contribute to marriages, specifically the traumas that show up or have shown up in our marriage and how we've overcome a lot of those things together. We've also talked about how we build a strong foundation through communication, through trust, through respect, mutual respect, and just supporting each other. Effort. Yeah. Effort. Even though I feel like no effort, T Grizzly. But did you spit your water out? Yeah, even though we do this shit with no effort, but that's from years of practice. And then not only that, don't get it twisted. Like, let me come close. This shit was destined. This shit was meant to be. This shit was written in the stars long, like she say, long time ago. Like, this was already what it was. Everybody on earth has somebody like that. If you ain't met them yet, if they live in Beijing, or they live in Australia, Nigeria, I don't know. What I'm saying is everybody on earth has somebody like that, but not everybody on earth finds that person. So just to be able to sit in the presence of your soulmate, to be able to share life with them, to be able to share children with them, to be able to be happy, be healthy, to build wealth, to learn more and to seek knowledge with them and to love more is a total blessing. Like, if I never hit the Mega Millions, because I don't really play lottery all the time, if I never get 180 billion, because I know I'm gonna get some millions or a little billion, so I'm not gonna put the number low, I'm put it high. So if I never get 180 billion, at least I know I got to experience the greatest love, not only in my lifetime, shit, probably everybody else's too. I ain't being funny. I'm just saying,
ain't nothing like it.
It's nothing like it.
Ain't nothing like it.
It's nothing like it.
Beautiful.
It is.
Fucking beautiful.
It's beautiful, like Rick James on the cover. I don't know what album that is when he on that red leather suit with that red guitar and the braids had glitter on them. It's beautiful like that. It's beautiful like Prince and Under the Cherry Moon when he played Christopher Tracy. You remember that? It's beautiful like Michael Jackson in the breakdown in the Remember the Time video. You remember that shit? But it's episode 2 of the Normans, and we just want to let y'all know that it's possible. Like, it ain't easy. It's not just gonna come to you. It's not gonna drop in your lap. It's not gonna come if you don't work on yourself. But it's possible. It's obtainable. You can do it, like on Waterboy. I swear it is. And it's one of the most beautiful experiences that I've ever had in my life. And I don't think it's not another being on this earth or out of this earth that I could have had this same experience with.
Everybody should experience it. Damn.
He got his eyes closed, y'all, when he said that. He got his eyes closed. That's how I feel, D. Norman. What it feel like?
That shit feel great.
Oh my goodness, we doing too much.
Oh yeah, we doing that.
They say you doing too much. No, but seriously, y'all, it's been a good episode. I'm glad that we could overcome these things. I'm glad that we could work on ourselves and work with one another to get to this point. And I know we're going so much further And I know there's so much more to come. But I do need you all to make sure you tune in to this episode 2 times. And then get ready for the next episode, which is episode 3. Episode 3. And that's coming up next Friday. But I just want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to Love Them Normans podcast, your new obsession, with myself, LaKendra Norman, and my husband.
And myself, Mr. Norman.
And we just want to say we really appreciate you grasping on to this because it's going somewhere. And if you're getting on in the beginning, then you're winning. So I just want to say thank you, Mr. Norman, for this experience.
Thank you, Mrs. Norman.
I love you, King.
I love you, Queen.
And we'll see y'all next week.